We asked for peace. The galaxy had long believed that humans were peaceful creatures. Ever since Earth joined the United Systems Alliance, humanity had spoken only of diplomacy, trade, and cooperation. Their ambassadors smiled often. Their ships carried supplies, medicines, and books. In meetings, humans listened more than they spoke. They helped build stations on frozen moons, offered medical aid during plagues, and even forgave the small raids from fringe pirate groups, most alien races. Saw this as weakness. The Tharn Coalition, a group of powerful, war-driven empires, were especially vocal about it. They saw the humans as nothing more than soft-bodied idealists, pretending to be equals in a dangerous galaxy. They called Earth the Blue Cradle, not out of respect, but as a joke. And when Earth politely requested an end to the attacks on its outer colonies, the Tharn answered by sending a fleet of warships to destroy a civilian science outpost near the edge of human territory. There were no weapons on the station. Just scientists, engineers, and children. When the news reached Earth, the planet didn't cry out in rage. It simply went silent. Inside the dark hall of the United Earth Council, high above Earth's surface in orbit, 12 representatives from every human region sat around a circular table. The room was quiet. The stars outside looked cold and distant through the wide glass wall. Counselor Dana sat straight, her eyes sharp. They killed over 300 people. Most of them were unarmed researchers. Children. No one replied. A few lowered their heads. Others stared forward. Counselor Malik finally broke the silence. This is the 4th attack this year. The Tharn want us to respond. They think we can't. Should we remind them what we've hidden? Asked a voice at the end of the table. Dana nodded slowly. Not yet. First, we give them one last message. The council voted. 12 hands. 12 agreements. A message was written. Simple. Direct. It was broadcast to every channel in the known systems, translated into the languages of every major race. To those who continue to harm our people, we have shown restraint. We have offered peace. But if you attack again, we will stop pretending to be what we are not. This is our final warning. The galaxy laughed. Memes appeared on alien networks. Artists made cartoons of humans waving white flags. One Tharn news host mocked the human voice in the message, calling it cute. But Earth did not respond, and that silence began to grow heavy. A few days later, the Tharn sent another ship, a small destroyer, into human space. They claimed it was a navigation error. In truth, they wanted to test humanity's threat. The ship drifted too close to a human colony on the moon of AOS-7. And then it vanished. No wreckage, no distress call. Just silence. The Tharn sent a scout team to investigate. The scout ship also disappeared. That's when the fear started. Rumors spread that Earth had activated old war programs. Some whispered about black fleets, long hidden in asteroid fields. Others spoke of special units, human soldiers trained in silence, survival, and cruelty, who had been kept in frozen sleep for decades. No proof came. No messages followed, just more silence. In a deep bunker under Earth's surface, a man named Elias stood before a sealed vault. He wore a black uniform with no markings. His eyes were calm, but tired. Behind him, a group of silent officers watched. Elias placed his hand on a scanner. A soft chime echoed in the room. Access granted. Protocol Diomayan Ion. The vault opened slowly, releasing cold air and the faint sound of humming machines. Inside were weapons no other species had seen. Drones with minds of their own. Suits that allowed humans to walk through fire. Stealth ships that left no trace. Deploy the first wave, Elias said softly. No warnings, no survivors. But no pride either. This isn't about revenge. It's a reminder. The officers nodded and moved quickly. Humanity had waited long enough. Meanwhile, on the planet Velos 3, a bustling Tharn military base, the sky darkened. Not from clouds, but from shadows. Dozens of black ships appeared above. The capital. They did not speak. They did not show flags. They simply moved. Within minutes, the city was gone. Not burning, just gone, like it had never existed. A single message was found, written into the broken rock near the edge of the crater. We asked for peace. Back on Earth, the council gathered again. They watched the reports come in. Tharn ships missing, bases turned to ash, communications lost. Counselor Dana didn't smile. No one did. This isn't victory, she said quietly. It's the cost of being ignored. Counselor Malik looked out the window at the stars. Do you think they'll listen now? Dana answered without turning. They'll listen. The question is will they understand? Far above them, in orbit, hundreds of human ships were on the move. Black, silent, and precise. Humanity had stopped pretending. The silence breaks. The stars were quiet after the destruction of Velos 3. The Tharn coalition froze. The proud, warlike empire that once laughed at Earth now said nothing. Their leaders held emergency meetings. Their generals shouted in panic behind closed doors. No one had ever destroyed one of their military planets in a single night, and without warning, but Earth gave no response. No victory speech. No message of threat or peace. Just silence. That silence scared them more than the attack itself. In the outer systems, Tharn fleets waited near the borders of human space. They were ordered not to go forward, not to retreat, just wait. On one of those ships, a young officer named Yarrow stood at the window, watching the stars. He was nervous. Everyone was. There are no patrols, the captain said behind him. No warning beacons. No satellites. Just emptiness. Yarrow frowned. It doesn't feel right. It's not, the captain replied. Earth is hiding something. Something even we don't understand. Suddenly, an alert rang out. The crew jumped. Unidentified objects approaching velocity, extreme signature. Unknown. Yarrow ran to his console. Multiple ships inbound, no ID, no response to hails. The captain gave the order to raise shields. Weapons were armed, but it was too late. The screen turned white. The sound of the ship's systems died. Then there was nothing. Another Tharn fleet. Gone. Back on Earth. In a hidden control room, deep below the surface, Elias stood in silence as data streamed across the screen. Beside him, Commander Ray spoke. Quietly, Second Tharn fleet neutralized. No human losses. Elias didn't smile. He simply nodded. Any response from the rest of the coalition? He asked. Nothing. They're afraid to move. Elias turned toward the window, even though the room was underground and had no real view. Let them be afraid, he said. Maybe fear will teach them what our kindness could not. On a small neutral world called Mirren, far from both Tharn and human space, a group of alien journalists gathered in a media station. They had all seen the message Earth sent. And now they wanted answers. Humans are hiding something, said Laro, a reptilian reporter with sharp eyes. They claim peace, but their power is unmatched. This is not the species we were shown. They always spoke softly in council. Meetings, said another. They offered help during disasters. They sang songs during festivals. But now they erase cities. Laro leaned forward. We need to know the truth. What else are they hiding? That day, Laro sent a request to Earth for an interview. There was no reply. In an old archive on a forgotten moon, a historian named Mira, from a peaceful race of thinkers, searched through human history. She found files buried deep, not shown. In the public databases. Old wars. Earth wars. She watched footage of battles on Earth's own soil. Millions dead, entire cities burning. She read about bombs that poisoned skies for decades, machines built to destroy minds, and soldiers trained to fight in darkness for years without rest. She watched a video labeled Soul War, Final Days. In the video, A human general stood before a ruined city. "We did not win," he said. "We simply ended it before nothing was left." Mira sat back, stunned. Earth hadn't evolved beyond violence. It had simply buried it, deep beneath layers of peace and patience. They had locked away their war. Machines. Now, someone had forced them to open that lock. Meanwhile, on a desert world, the Tharn warlord Riken paced in his chamber. He had once called Earth soft dirt. Now he didn't laugh. "They should not have this kind of power," he growled. His advisor bowed. "We believed they had nothing. But they hid their weapons, their history, their strength." Riken slammed his fist against the wall. "We should have crushed them when they first joined the Alliance. It is too late now." Riken stared at the screen showing the empty space where one of their fleets had vanished. "No," he whispered, "it's not too late. If we can't fight them, we must uncover their secrets. Find out what they really are." Back on Earth, in a training facility hidden under the Arctic ice, a new kind of soldier woke from cryo-sleep. Their faces were calm, their bodies strong. These were not average soldiers. They had been trained before the galaxy even knew Earth existed in the stars. One of them, Commander Lee, stepped into the cold room and met Elias. "We've been asleep a long time," Lee said. "Long enough," Elias replied. "The galaxy forgot what we are." Lee nodded. "Do they know now?" Elias looked toward the ceiling. "They're starting to." Lee didn't ask more. He simply turned and walked into the darkness, ready to serve. The galaxy was holding its breath. All channels were quiet. Number one wanted to speak first. No one dared provoke Earth again, but they all knew something had changed. The humans who once offered help with open hands now moved in shadows. They spoke no more warnings. They sent no more messages. But the message was already clear. Earth was no longer pretending. What they buried, the stars were still watching. Across the galaxy, governments held secret meetings. News channels spread fear. Civilians whispered in public places, wondering what humanity truly was. Earth had not explained its actions. It had not apologized. It had not demanded payment or land. It had simply erased fleets, silenced worlds, and then vanished from the conversation. No one knew what to do. But a few brave souls wanted answers on a quiet moon far from the core systems. Mira, the historian, continued her work. She had spent days reading old files, watching forgotten videos, and piecing together hidden parts of human history. Every new discovery left her more afraid. In the early days, humans had fought with swords, bows, and fire. But that was only the beginning. Soon came guns, bombs, tanks, then nuclear weapons. After that, they moved into psychological warfare, genetic experiments, and total information control. One document spoke of a time called the Last Earth War. The war had lasted only 8 months, but killed over 1 billion people. She read one quote that stayed in her mind. "When peace became impossible, we didn't aim to win. We aimed to make sure the enemy could never rise again." Mira closed the file and sat in silence. Her hands trembled. Earth had not become peaceful because it was gentle. Earth had become peaceful because it had seen the edge of its own madness and chosen to lock the door. But now, that door was open again. On a trade station near Tharn Space, a group of alien scholars gathered in a dark room. The station was old, filled with old books and digital scrolls. "We must speak honestly," said one elder. "We believed humans were weak because they spoke softly. We didn't realize the silence was hiding something worse." "They hid their past," said another. "They buried their weapons. They erased parts of their history." "But why?" someone asked. The elder looked up. "Because they were afraid, not of others, but of themselves." The room went silent. In deep space, on board a black human vessel, Commander Lee stood with his team. Their ship had no name, no symbol, no lights, It moved like a shadow, unseen by scanners. They watched a distant Tharn listening post. The post wasn't dangerous, just curious. It had been gathering data on human movements. Lee turned to his crew. "They're not attacking. We leave them." "Orders are full purge," said his second. "We are not machines," Lee replied. "We remember why we fight. No war without cause." The second officer nodded. Understood. The ship turned and disappeared into the dark. Even within their fury, the humans chose control that made them even more dangerous. On Earth, the United Council met again. Their faces were tired. No celebrations, no joy in revenge. Only the weight of choices made. Counselor Dana spoke first. "The galaxy is terrified." "As they should be," said Counselor Malik. "They pushed us too far." "We warned them, but how far will we go?" Dana asked. "Velos 3, the fleets, how many more?" Elias, who had joined the council in person this time, spoke with a low voice. "As far as needed, not more, not less." "Some humans are starting to protest," said another counselor. "They say we've become the thing we feared." Elias looked around the room. "We haven't, not yet, but the line is close. And if we cross it, we may never come back." No one had an answer to that. Across the galaxy, news channels tried to tell the story, but no one could fully explain it. Some painted humans as monsters, others as saviors. Most agreed on one thing: humanity had power beyond understanding. In the shadows of this fear, other races began to move. Quietly, the Dravik, a cold and logical species, started building defense systems. The Malari, who once mocked humans openly, closed their borders completely. Even the Korth, known for their pride, offered trade and peace talks. Humanity did not respond. The silence continued. Back on Mirren, the historian Mira stood before a crowd. Her research had spread quickly. Now many wanted to hear her speak. She stood at a podium, holding a thin device filled with all her notes. "I have studied Earth's past," she began. "And what I've learned is this: humans did not forget how to fight. They simply chose not to." She paused, letting the words sink in. "They hid their weapons, their soldiers, their technology. Not because they were afraid of war, but because they were afraid of winning too easily." The crowd murmured. Mira continued. "They are not like us. When pushed, they do not just push back, they erase threats completely. This is not strength alone. It is design, a plan, a promise to themselves." Someone raised a hand. "Then why are they acting now?" Mira looked at them. "Because we didn't believe them when they asked for peace." In a dark room, somewhere in Tharn space, Warlord Riken slammed his fist against the table. "How many ships lost now?" he growled. 6 fleets. "And counting," his advisor replied. "Do they want war or peace?" Reckon asked. "We don't know," the advisor whispered. "They don't speak, they don't answer, they just strike and disappear." Reckon stood. "Fine, if they won't speak, then we must show them we won't bow either." He ordered a final attack, a show of strength, aimed at a small human listening post. He did not know that Earth had predicted this move, and Earth had already sent a reply. It was waiting. Just out of sight, the story had changed. Humanity was no longer a quiet member of the Alliance. Now, they were a shadow. In the stars, a quiet voice with a sharp blade behind it. The galaxy began to understand. They had laughed at the warning. Now, they feared what came next. The galaxy trembles. The Tharn attack came fast. A fleet of 30 ships moved through human space, targeting a small research outpost on the edge of the Lyra system. They believed it was weak, unprotected. But they were wrong. The outpost was a trap. The moment the Tharn ships arrived, they were surrounded. Human stealth cruisers appeared from the dark, like ghosts. Within 7 minutes, the entire Tharn fleet was gone. No escape. No survivors. And still, Earth said nothing. No message. No warning. No demands. Just silence. In the capital world of the Yalari Union, panic spread across the streets. The Yalari had once traded with Earth. They had even mocked them in open council. Now, they were locking down cities and calling for emergency defense funds. In one of their government buildings, Minister Elena stood before the council. "We must open communication with Earth," she said. "Not as leaders, not as warriors, but as survivors before we are next." One councilman shouted, "They have no interest in peace." Elena looked him in the eyes. "No, they had interest. We ignored it. Now they're showing us what comes next." The chamber fell quiet. The war had started not with Earth's hunger, but with the galaxy's arrogance. Now the cost was being paid. In a deep space medical ship, far from battle, a nurse named Juno watched footage of Earth's ancient wars. She had treated wounded soldiers from many races over the years, Tharn, Malari, Korth, but never humans. Because human soldiers didn't come back injured, they came back victorious. Or not at all. Her screen showed an old recording of a human battlefield, burned land, black skies, soldiers moving with machines, using weapons that didn't just kill, but erased. Juno covered her mouth. "They weren't built for war," she whispered. "They were built to end it." On Earth, the council gathered once more in the high chamber. This time, the air was heavier than ever. "The Yalari are asking for peace," said Councillor Malik. "They were never enemies," Dana added. "They just stood by while others mocked us." Commander Elias stood near the glass wall, looking down at Earth's surface. "Many stood by," he said. "Many laughed, many pointed fingers. But are we becoming what they feared?" Dana asked. "We said we'd defend ourselves, not punish the entire galaxy." Elias turned to her. "We are not punishing. We are reminding." Malik stepped forward. "We must choose now. Do we stop? Or do we continue until there is no one left to challenge us again?" The room went still. What began as self-defense was now turning into something greater, something darker. The line was close. Too close. On Mirren, historian Mira received a surprise. A message from Earth. It was short. Only one line. "Meet us. Bring truth, not fear." Attached was a coordinate deep in neutral space. She packed her things and left the same day. When her ship arrived, a single human vessel waited for her. Not a warship, a quiet diplomatic craft. It let her dock. She walked inside. In the meeting room stood Commander Lee. He greeted her with a respectful nod. "You've been studying us," he said. "I've been trying to understand," Myra replied. Lee looked tired, but calm. "Then ask your questions." She paused, then spoke softly. "Why are you doing this?" Lee sat. "Because they didn't believe us when we were peaceful. We gave the galaxy kindness. It was mistaken for weakness. Now we show strength. And they finally listen." Mira looked at him. "But strength can turn into fear, and fear into hate." Lee nodded. "Yes, that's why we want to speak to someone who understands balance. Someone like you." Mira's eyes widened. "You're not trying to destroy the galaxy. We're trying to save it from itself." Back in Tharn space, chaos ruled. Reckon, the warlord who once claimed humans were dirt, was dead. His command ship was found drifting, cut in half by a weapon no one had ever seen. The Tharn government collapsed. Their remaining fleet surrendered or fled. And Earth didn't even respond to the surrender message. No pride. No revenge. Just silence. That silence was louder than any war cry. In the outer rings of the galaxy, the last of the neutral races gathered in secret. The Yari, the Valari, the Dravik, and more. They spoke with fear, but also hope. "Humans are powerful," said one elder, "but they still remember pain." "They could have destroyed us all," said another. "But they haven't, not yet." "Then we must speak with them," said the Yari leader. "Not with fear, but with respect." And so, a message was sent to Earth. The first united voice from the galaxy in years. We wish to understand. Not control, not command, only understand. For the first time in months, Earth replied, "Come in peace, or don't come at all." In a quiet field on Earth, Elias stood under a gray sky. Rain fell slowly. A graveyard stretched out before him. Not of soldiers, but of scientists, doctors, peacekeepers. People who had tried to keep the galaxy together when others only wanted power. Commander Lee approached behind him. "They're listening now," he said. Elias didn't move. "I know." "We could win everything." Elias turned. "But what? Would we lose?" Lee understood. The war was never about domination. It was about reminding the stars that Earth was not a toy, that humans, when pushed, would never kneel, and would never be ignored again. Now as the galaxy trembled, a new path opened, one not built on fear, but on balance. If they chose it. The choice. The stars were quiet, now. No more attacks, no more warships crossing into human space. The galaxy watched and waited, unsure what humanity would do next. Some wanted peace, some waited for revenge. All were afraid, but Earth did not move. They had made their point. Now the galaxy had to decide what it truly wanted. In a floating space station between the stars, the first Galactic Council of Peace was held. Representatives from 52 alien species sat in a circular room, each one tense, silent, and unsure how to begin. And then the doors opened. 3 humans walked in. No weapons, no guards, no army. Behind them, just calm steps. Elias, Lee, and Data took their seats at the center table. No one spoke at first. They were afraid the humans would demand control, but Elias simply said, "We are listening." It was the galaxy's turn to speak. The Dravik delegate stood first. "We believed you were weak because you asked for peace." "We were wrong." Elias nodded once. "You were." The delegate bowed his head. "Then we ask you not for forgiveness, but for a future together." Next came the Yalari. Minister Reeling spoke firmly, but with respect. "We mocked you, we underestimated you. But we see now, peace cannot exist unless all sides honor it." Others followed. The Malari, the Korth, even the broken remains of the Tharn. Each asked not to rule, not to submit, but to begin again. In her own quiet room, Mira, the historian, watched the talks through a broadcast screen. She had helped the council prepare, sharing what she learned about Earth's past and their reasons for silence. Now, as she watched the galaxy try to rebuild trust, she felt something deep in her chest. Hope. Not because war was over, but because understanding had begun. Later that day, after the council ended, Elias stood alone in the hall. He looked out through the large glass window into the stars. Lee walked up beside him. "They're afraid of us," Lee said. "They should be," Elias replied. "But now, maybe they'll learn from it." Dana joined them too. "We made them see who we really are," Elias nodded. "Now we have to show them who we want to be." Lee smiled slightly. "And what if someone attacks again?" Elias didn't smile. "Then we remind them." Months passed. The war was over. No formal treaty, no grand victory parade. Just a galaxy learning to walk a different path. Trade routes reopened. Joint science projects restarted. Some former enemies even began working with Earth's engineers, cautiously but willingly. In many alien cities, statues of human warships were placed not as threats, but as reminders. Peace is not weakness, and patience is not surrender. The galaxy now understood that Earth did not lead by fear, but Earth would not be ignored again. Back on Earth, in a small school in the countryside, children studied history. Not just their own, but stories from every race, every planet. Their teacher, a gentle man named Owen, finished reading a story about the war and looked at his students. "What did we learn?" he asked. A small girl raised her hand. That being strong doesn't mean you always have to fight. Owen smiled. Exactly. And? A boy raised his hand. That we gave a warning, and we meant it. Owen nodded. Yes, and because we meant it, they finally listened. The class fell quiet for a moment. Then the boy added, but I hope we never have to give that warning again. Everyone agreed. In a quiet forest, Commander Lee walked alone. He no longer led a fleet. He had asked to step down after the war. He said he needed to breathe again. He visited a small cabin where a woman waited, his sister, who had stayed on Earth during the storm. They sat together, watching the wind move through the trees. Do they still fear us? She asked. Yes, Lee said. But now, some of them also respect us. She nodded. It's a start. They watched the sunset. For once, there were no war alarms. No news of destruction. Just light and quiet. In the Galactic archives, Mira placed her final report into the shared knowledge system. Its title was simple: Humanity, Memory and Warning. In it, she wrote, the humans did not rise with fire. They rose with silence. They did not scream for war. They whispered their truth. And the galaxy, finally, heard them. We must never forget their warning. But more importantly, we must remember what led them to give it: disrespect, mockery, and false peace. Now we have a chance to rebuild. Not in fear, but in understanding. She closed the file. The work was done. The stars remained. The galaxy turned slowly. Peace had not come easily. It had come after fire, silence, and a final warning that shook the very heart of space. And that warning had a message: attack again. And we won't pretend anymore. But now, they didn't need to pretend. They just needed to live together. The end.